Welcome to Freelance Sucks. Here we discuss the dark side of freelancing about which nobody usually talks out loud. In this show, we speak with experienced freelancers, and I'm sure listening to their stories helps you prepare for freelancers' challenges. My name is Yuri. I'm a community builder at Code Control and 9am.works, and my guest is Elina Jutelyte, a strong freelancer ambassador who supports freelance economy by running Freelance Business Community with the largest event, Freelance Business Month, and supports the organization of the annual European Freelancers Week to make freelancers' voices heard. So, welcome, Elina.
Hey, hi, Yuri.
You are a freelancer. So, for you, what is the most challenging part of being a freelancer?
The challenging part for me, especially right now, like I'm, referring to just yesterday's situation, for example, to stay active while raising a kid at the same time. My girl is 20 months by now, very active. We decided not to go to daycare at the moment, so it's handling my daily life with the kid and very demanding job schedule. This is the biggest challenge for me. And the problem here I have is that there are lots of people who I wish I had some time off. I don't want to work anymore. Where in my case, it's like, I love my work. Can I please work? Like, can I have more time? So, for example, last night I worked until 3 p.m., 3 a.m. And today I stood up at 6 just to do the work again. So that is the challenge I'm having at the moment.
I can imagine, but also I feel like it's a nice challenge to have, but also I have 11-year-old, and I will tell you that this challenge will never stop because currently he's going to school and I was thinking okay, he will just go to school. I'll have a lot of time to work. Then he'll just come back. He will do his homework and everything else. But then I have to do his homework with him. And it's like 2 hours. I thinking, it will be like 30 minutes. And then it's 2 hours in a row. So yes, I totally I do not understand from this point because I know that's 12 months old is like definitely harder part. But it's nice that you told about that some people are complaining that they don't have time to rest, and you are complaining that you don't have time to work. And not like complain, but yeah, it's really interesting. So how do you deal with it? How do you make sure that you spend time with your kid and also spend good time working?
Yeah. Well, I noticed that with shortage of time, you become so productive. I saw it also from the past when I had too much work and then eventually things are really flying very quickly, versus when you have little work and then you just extend and it takes time and it's your energy. Actually, I hate it. So I manage it right now by, like I mentioned, standing up very early. Thankfully, it comes very easy for me in the summer, especially when sun is up, and then working nights and then working when she sleeps. And sometimes we take shifts with my husband, that he can watch her when I have calls or whatever, if he's not occupied with his business too. So yeah, it's lots of compromises in a way, and then carefully selecting what you're working on. Of course, I'm not able to take, for example, huge client projects, which I used to do before, because I realized that, this is just, I don't want to let them down. Unless I can partner with someone, and sometimes it does happen that I bring someone else on the project and they do the work. It's just being mindful of your availability and planning accordingly. For example, I started doing more postponement of the work. For example, I agree on a project with the customer, but then I say, hey, I know that I'll have time in December. Are you okay if I do it then? And they're like, okay, yeah. So then at least it's not pressing me right now when I have some other priorities.
And also, that's what I hear, that it's easier to do the work while you have this small time boundaries when you have to do it super quickly, because you don't have time to Okay, I have a lot of time. I can do it slowly, or I can postpone it, or I can go for a walk or something like that. And I feel like that's exactly the benefit of freelancing. So you don't have to sit from 9 to 5 in the office, and you can just do the same amount of work or sometimes even more, much faster, but it's not like every day from 9 to 5. So you choose your time to work. And also, I wonder what is the most time consuming thing that you must deal with as a freelancer?
I think you feel that it's time consuming when you hate doing something. For me, this
Hmm.
is accounting. Even though, like in calculation, it probably will take me a day or like 2 days, a quarter, just to put all the documents
Hmm.
together, and then accountant does the rest. For me, it's the most time consuming because I hate it. It's like all these things that you need to put together. And I, mentally prepare myself that, okay, the next 2 days I'm going to be in my papers. So yeah, um, for the rest, time consuming thing is, um, well, since I deal with events, and time consuming is planning, because then
Hmm.
you have to really describe every single detail that comes into the event, making sure that all your set of documents and files are ready to do whatever. I prefer to prepare like the basis at the beginning of the project, so I have everything in one place. So that takes time. But then once it's rolled out, and it goes pretty quickly. What also takes time is like when something goes wrong for any reason, then you see that you're off the rail and you need to maybe restart. For example, I was writing a newsletter recently, and then it was all deleted. And I'm like, shit,
Ah,
kind of thought is gone. I, cannot replicate what I was thinking at that moment. So that took me lots of time to replicate and remember what I written there. So that was really pain. But yeah, it happens.
yeah, I can imagine. But I feel like it's also was a little bit of nerve consuming. So what is the most nerve consuming thing you must deal with?
Oh, that's a lot of the stuff I had. Because, event management is like third stressful profession out there after fire, a fireman and
Uh-huh.
ambulance or something like this. Uh, so we deal with lots of stress, and thankfully, I guess I have the capacity to handle it well. Otherwise, I wouldn't be in events for so long.
Mm.
But we had situations, for example, where like ash cloud happened. If you know that disaster, maybe
Yeah,
tragic.
yeah.
And I had an event in China where all my executives from the company I worked for supposed to fly over to China. We had an event with the local government there, and for Chinese, it's very important to see white men joining the like discussions or whatever. And I was there for a month actually working on that project together with these Chinese governments and stuff. And the way they handling women, the chauvinism, the level of chauvinism is just totally mad. They would not listen to me. They would not translate me anything what they were deciding on an event that I was producing.
Uh,
And when this ash cloud happened and my execs could not fly over, they're like, but can they take a train? To China. I'm like, yeah, maybe it will take like a month. So that the situation I had to handle was a little bit stressful. There are other emergency situations that happened. Luckily, not with me on site, but with the team I worked with when there was a civil riot in Saudi Arabia, I think, or Bahrain. Sorry,
mhm,
not
mhm.
Bahrain.
Mm.
The flooding in Thailand, and like many other things that you as an event professional, like, holy shit, it's really not what you planned for. Like, you had different imagination about your event being running smooth.
I feel like when you meet something like that in your life, you have this fight or flight response. And I wonder, how do you approach those situations? How do you make sure that you can handle them?
Well, it's all preparation actually. As a event professional, you need to have these plans in place. First of all, you do the risk analysis for the event that you're producing. Normally, you do that with specialized agency. Funny enough, not every client is willing to pay money to do that risk analysis. They're all hoping that actually, it's gonna fly. I'll do very quick risk analysis on my own, just kind of because you need to have it if you apply for insurance for an event. And then if something happens, you need to prove that you've done the risk analysis. So it starts from that. And then a careful planning, actually for big events, especially with corporates, when the brand damage can be super bad, you need to have a communication plan in place in case something goes wrong. Even, for example, someone like slashing your name on social somewhere, and it can be a small thing, but it can roll out very quickly if someone wants to pick that story and make it big. So there should be like a certain communication strategy in place to do that. And again, not so many corporates actually paying attention to that. I had a situation when a startup was having a big event, a very significant one, and the marketing director at that time, she's like, "Oh, what is the chance that this will happen? We're not going to spend time on it." So eventually, luckily, nothing happened, but they did have some issues with the staff that did not behave very well, and eventually it could just, everyone was filming that, and it was all over the social media. So if someone would pick that story, a media, whatever, it was a case about harassment, a case about drinking on site, and many other things, they would be just slashed. So it's all about preparedness and making sure you accept the fact that it may happen. So you're not just going and hoping that, it's going to be fine. You're just hoping you prepare that something's going to go wrong, and you covered by having right actions and tools next to you.
I can imagine the level of responsibility for running such event for corporate, because I've made a conference for 700 people in Ukraine. It was for salespeople, but it was my conference, and it was like a sales community, and it was no company behind, and all the things that might have gone wrong. I was like, okay, if you forgive my imperfection, I'll forgive yours. But I can imagine how it feels when you're working for a corporate, when every wrong word may cause like super huge damage. And oh my God, it's so high level of stress.
Yeah, but in fact, running an event for yourself, I feel a bit more relaxed by running an event for myself as Freelance Business Month. But at the same time, it's a bigger responsibility because online events is a different story, but live event, if something goes wrong with people at your live event, you're responsible personally. So you definitely need to have insurance in place. Talk to your insurance broker about the fact that you doing that, you're getting people together in a building, for example, and that you need to know that you need to do certain checks in the buildings, that there are fire exits, fire extinguishers, and people who can actually action if something goes wrong. Because there was a situation with the provider I worked with, and they're so bluntly like, you know what, we had an event and then the fire broke. And I said, okay, what did you do? And they were pitching me the services as, event company. And what did you do? Well, nothing. We just asked the building owner to do something. And did they do something? They knew nothing. So it was just bizarre. Like, ciao, goodbye. I'm not going to work with you anymore. It's just so dangerous. So be prepared.
Yeah, totally. And I wonder, as a freelancer who works online, do you ever feel professional loneliness?
Not really. Never felt that. I guess maybe it's due to the fact that I like being independent, and I like being like in my own circle for a while. And likewise, I like to socialize and being with people. So I successfully managed these two options. I love COVID times, to be honest, because actually I realized how tired I was from socializing with too many people, flying in different countries, making events here and there. And then I, was grounded for 2 years. I'm like, oh gosh, it just feels so good not to be in this constant stress anymore. No, I don't feel loneliness at all, especially because I communicate with so many people online. And if I need to meet someone face to face, I just, go for a drink somewhere.
I feel like it's the best decision. Just, hey, what's up? Let's go for a drink. Let's do it. And if your friend wanted to become a freelancer, what are top 3 things you'd advise them to consider before doing it?
Yeah. First, talk to a financial advisor or an accountant, please. And not one, but maybe 3, so that they can and find a good one. It's so important, so that they can take your entire situation, your family situation, your, I don't know, assets that you have, whatever, and they draw a proper picture for you, what it would take you, because there are different freelancers, of course. Some start very small, like, I'm going to do like little thing here and there, and then, just declare profits. In my tax application, talking about Belgium, for example, or like in my case, it was, I knew I'm going to get good money. I'm going to have a big contract. I should have never actually registered as a freelancer. It's a crazy sound, but just because of the tax rate here in Belgium, it was a stupid decision. I was not able to optimize my tax. I paid hell a lot and still paying a lot of money for that. When if I would register as a company, I would just be able to do much better. So this is my advice number 1. And of course, depends on the country. In some countries like Georgia, you pay only 1%. So why not, go and register in Georgia and do your freelancing from there. Joking. But yeah, there are some countries that allow that very beneficial status. For example, you can also register, if you don't want to register in your own country, you can register an e-residency in Estonia, for example, and try your freelancing like for a couple of months or whatever, pay local tax there, you put your income and declaration in your own country, and at least you know how it feels before you, register officially in your own country and, do this heavy lifting from the start. So that's advice number 1. Second, prepare your grounds. Like I mentioned in the other episode, talk to people, build your network, share what you're planning to do. Just try to get the feeling of whether there is interest or not. You eventually may want to connect with similar profiles just to see how they do and do the market research. This is also important. I, for instance, did not do market research in my case because, again, I was in a very, very luxurious position to have a client from the start. But I'm after about 6 years or 7 years now, close to do that, because I feel like I need to position myself better to explain my benefits and why I'm, so good or not so good in some cases. Of course, you don't want to talk about bad things, but you need to understand where you're located expertise-wise, so you can also price your services accordingly. So these are my advices.
Got it. Elina, I really wish to have the sky is the limit, but time is the limit. So the final question, if you were starting freelancing today, is there something you would have done differently?
I would not put all eggs in one basket. Again, mentioned the story about my client. I was just so happy and so content that I have work. I wasn't looking for anything else. And eventually, when a company went into difficulties, they started laying off all the consultants. I was on the market without a job and without a client for a long 3 or 4 months because I was focusing on getting big projects, and I didn't want to do single thing here and there. And eventually I realized that I have drowned out all my reserves and I need to accept something. And that is the desperate position that I really would not recommend having, because then you can get yourself in trouble. And eventually I got myself in trouble by having a project I really didn't want to do. I knew it's a toxic client, but I still started working, and I spent 6 months for nothing. So eventually he didn't pay me. So I spent time. I was not looking for I was looking for other customers, but time was scarce. And then at the end, I wasn't even paid. So I lost 6 months. So that was the bummer.
Yeah, I can imagine. And yeah, Elina, thank you so much for sharing your challenges and for having such an open conversation.
My pleasure, my pleasure. I hope it helps folks out there. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Happy to have a chat.
Definitely helps. And yeah, once again, thank you so much. And thank you so much for listening. If you like the show, hit the like button, 5 stars, and share it with your friend. That's it. We're done. See you in the next episode.